Hi, this is Rachelle Scrapcraftastic, and today we are going to make envelopes. So I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can make them with and without a punch board. So I don't know if you're familiar with the envelope punch boards, but I have these two. This is the larger one. This is the smaller one to make small envelopes with. This larger one, I have made envelopes on the channel with this before, and I'll put a video or two in the iCard up above showing where I made the envelopes. But this punch board is by We Are Memory Keepers. I think the color is different on the newer ones. The newer version of this is this color. And it's fairly simple to make an envelope with these, but it is somewhat limiting because you actually have to use the measurements that are here, and sometimes you end up with an envelope kind of like this, which was not what I was going for, where the flaps are really long. I've already trimmed this one off, but yeah, so that isn't quite what I was going for, but that is what I got with this. And it's also limiting because as you get into larger pieces of paper, this score line doesn't go all the way to the edge, so you can get off a little bit. It can get complicated. I can't say the same thing for this one, because if the paper is too big for this, then you would just move to this one. But they are fairly reasonably priced, and they work well, depending on the types of envelopes you want. So this scoreboard is from Martha Stewart. This is the full size, and this is the mini version. And if you flip them over, you see they have measurements to make envelopes. Again, kind of limiting because they only have measurements for a couple of sizes. On this one, the mini, and then this one, it has a few more, but not a lot, not as many sizes as the punch board. Now these are great if you need specific size envelopes. Say if you make cards or something like that, you need specific size, and that's great. They have the main popular sizes of envelopes that you would need for cards. But if you want something custom, a specific size, it may be a little difficult with these to get that size. You probably would have more luck with the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. Then I have, this is the We Are Memory Keepers mini. I don't know if they call it mini, but that's what I'm calling it. The mini scoreboard. And on the back, it has envelopes, and it has more options for sizes than the Martha Stewart. But Martha Stewart also has a different setup as well, so I don't know. I have only used the back of these, and I think I used this one once or twice to make an envelope because I didn't feel like figuring it out, but it's not as complicated as it seems. So we're gonna figure these out together, and we're gonna test them together. So I don't know if you have a scoreboard, if you have a mini, the full size, what you have. I know there's another type of scoreboard called a Scrapcraftastic. I don't know if it has the envelope information on it, or that if it comes with it, or how that works. If you know about the Scrapcraftastic and if it has envelope information, let me know in the comments below. So that is the scoreboard way. So you got the punch board, you got the scoreboard, then you can just do one by hand. I did that in a recent short that is posted on the channel, and I'll put it in the iCard up above, where I just simply folded the paper and made an envelope. This is the envelope that I made. This was just a 12 by 12 piece of paper, and that was the first time I'd ever done it with cardstock. I also prior did it with a piece of vellum because I just wanted a different size, and my vellum, I only have 8.5 by 11 vellum, and working with the punch board to get the most out of my 8.5 paper, I end up with a 3 by 7.5 inch envelope, which kind of resembles this. I think As far as I know, when you're making an envelope, you need to start with a square piece of paper. So, but yeah, I did not like that. So this is what tempted me to try doing it by hand, and I like the shape of this envelope much better. So it just kind of depends on the shape that you are going for. I also like this shape with just the 12 by 12. These are some scrap papers. So this is some of my own paper. These papers were sent to me in Happy Mail. So we're going to play around with all of that. I trimmed these down to squares. I don't know if they are going to work with this punch board, but this is 5.5 by 5.5. I'm going to make this one, which is 3.5 by 3.5, and my score line will be at 2 3/4. Okay, so I cut my paper. My paper is at 5.5 by 5.5. So what I need to do is place it under the punch. This is the punch at 2 3/4, and it has the measurements on here. So that's 2 3/4. And let me get it comes with a little score tool. We're going to use their score tool. Punch, and then you kind of place the score tool inside of the notch in the punch and score. See that? So there is a score line here. So when you place the tool in there, it puts you on that score line. So I don't know if you can see that, but it is, oops, it's scored there. Okay, so then I'm gonna turn this around and line this score line up with this prong that is sticking out of the punch area. So I have to kind of pick it up so I can make sure I got it lined up good. So I'm trying to line that up right in the center. So you only measure once. On this, you measure that first score, and then every other score and punch aligns with that. So I got it lined up. I'm going to score and punch. Let's line this one up, and I'm just kind of bending the paper so that I can see the score line a little better on this gray paper to make sure I have it lined up good. And I'm not sure that this is going to come out quite right. I'm going to punch. You can punch or score in either order. You can score first or punch first. It doesn't really matter. As long as you get the paper in there lined up in the right way. Okay. So we're lining that up with the score line. Then on the last one, you can kind of tell if you're in the right place, because the edge of your notch should be on the edge of the score line there. So the edge of the punch should line up with the score line somewhat. So if you're off, now's the time where you can kind of fix it and make sure that this notch is kind of lined up with the score line. But also your score here should be lined up with the notch as well. So that's just kind of an indication of whether or not you got the envelope lined up right. You got your score lines lined up the right way. Okay, so now we're just going to fold these over. And that is our envelope. Then on the back of this little punch area, you can use that to round the corners of the flaps of the envelope. That's optional. You don't really have to do it. You could also use your corner chomper, also by We Are Memory Keepers, if you chose. And then you decide how you want your envelope to go. So if you want it to go this way, there you go. Nice, cute envelope. If you want it to go this way, I kind of like doing them this way sometimes. It's just, you kind of have to play around with how it closes, but I do like a tall envelope like that. But they are actually meant to go this way. Okay, and then you would just add your glue. Let me go ahead and do it. I'm going to use tape runner. You decide which end you want to be your top, which end you want to be the bottom. Run the tape runner on the short flaps on this one, or the inside flaps, side flaps, and just glue it down. You can use wet glue too. I just use the tape runner because it's fast. And there you have envelope. This one, I think it was supposed to fit a 3.5 by 3.5 card. So it's 4 inches. It's a little bigger to accommodate the 3.5 by 3.5 card. So also keep that in mind. The measurement here is saying this is the card size that will fit in here. So the envelope is going to be slightly larger than the card size. Okay, so that one's done. So we use the little one. That's how it works. The big one works the exact same way, just bigger. So this is actually paper. This was cardstock. The paper here is 8.5 by 8.5. So I do not like the shape of envelope that comes out with 8.5 by 8.5. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna do this one. This will fit the card size of 5 by 5.5. And I can use 8.5 by 8.5 paper. And I would score at 4 1/8. So let's do it. Because I like my envelopes to be more square like this anyway. So I'm gonna find 4 1/8, which is there. Again, the numbers, you don't have to try to figure out the measurements. They are right here for you. They made that pretty easy. This one also comes with a score tool. I'm gonna line this up at the 4 1/8, punch, and score. Then, I don't know why I picked dark papers, because you can't really see the score line that well. Well, I can't, but let's see if I can fix that. And line it up. Punch. And then this last one, like I said, you can kind of make sure that you're on the right path if when you line your score line up here with the little prong that sticks out there. So we're lining, I'm finding my score line. Let's fold it. I may be a little off on this because I can't see the line. Let's see. Slide this in here. So, and make sure when you're doing this that you have your paper up against this ledge all the way. So I have the score line lined up with this prong that sticks out here. And I can also tell that this notch is lined up with the score indentation here. So that means my envelope is probably going to come out pretty straight. So we get all our scores. We can go ahead, let's go ahead and round these corners while we have the board here. And okay. And so these, let's put this back. Even though I can use this to burnish, I won't. You have little bits like this left over after punching and rounding. So then you just fold on those score lines. And I'm probably going to make this the bottom since it has the branding information on there. And do my folds. And this is a little easier to fold. Oh, I didn't punch that one. Okay, so I screwed that up. Let's see if we can fix it. How did I not punch that? I know my daughter is texting me. She's scared that she is sick. So my other daughter, my oldest daughter. So I might have missed it when I answered her. Okay, so this is how it goes. If you mess up like I did, then you can just put it back in there and punch it. So I'm gonna put tape on either side of this, since see how on this one it goes over, it kind of sticks up over the side flaps. So I didn't put tape on this bottom flap because wouldn't know where to stop the tape. So I put it on the shorter flaps, okay? So if I put it on the longer flap, then I would end up with tape or glue up here. So this one, it doesn't really matter because nothing is overhanging. So this bottom flap doesn't overhang, so it doesn't cause an issue. So I'm gonna put the tape on here. Try not to put it on my mat. And there we go. So that's envelope number 2 using the full-size envelope punch board. So got those. So I think before we get into using the scoreboards, so I'm going to show you with this one how to do it by hand completely. You need to start with a square piece of paper and you need to find the center. So you can either do that by measuring, which a lot of people don't like to do, or you can do it like I did in the video and kind of do a slight fold. Now this will leave a little bit of an indentation in your paper. So if you don't want that indentation, then you'll have to measure. So I'm taking one corner to meet the other corner in a triangular shape, and I'm just pressing down in the middle. Not completely making a fold, just enough so that I can see where that middle section was. Then I'm going to turn it around and meet the other 2 corners and make sure that they're as straight as possible, and do the same thing in the center. So we should have where the 2 folds cross. Now I can't see. So what I do is take my pencil, and you can erase this later if you need to, and I mark that center space. So that's the center of the paper where those 2 pencil lines meet. So then if your paper is directional and it matters to you, you make sure you're folding in the right direction. This one doesn't matter because everything's going to be at an angle and there's not much I can do about it. It's a specific direction. So I'm just going to take one corner and fold it to meet the middle of my little cross mark there, and go ahead and fold it. Then I'm going to flip it around to the other side and do the same thing. Bring the corner up to the middle of my little mark and fold it. Now this is the more complicated part because you kind of have to make things straight. You can use a ruler, let me find it, to kind of help you to line things up and to get a straight fold. You can use your grid on a mat, or I don't know, you could mark it with a pencil, measure it if you want to. I think I'm going to use the mat and then just kind of line where this fold starts with a line on my mat. Make sure this edge is flush with a line on the mat, and then decide how much I want to fold it up. I can fold it up this much. I can just fold it to the very edge. I can fold it maybe like an inch or half an inch up. I think we're going to go with an inch this time. Let's see how it works with the ruler, because I did it by hand before and I just eyeballed it. I didn't use my mat. So let's do it with the ruler. So I'm putting the ruler where I want to fold and just folding the paper up against the edge of the ruler. It's a little crooked, but it's okay. So, and then I'm just going to go ahead and make my fold. And there is another way to do this if you know specifically what size you need your envelope to be. I haven't tried that, so But there is another way. Maybe we'll get into that the next time we do this. And then we can do that same thing on the other side. I'm just going to line this edge up with a line on my mat so that I know it's as straight as can be. And I'm going to do the same thing with the ruler. So I've got this corner lined up with a line, this edge lined up with a line. And it doesn't matter which line, any line. And then I want my ruler, one end to be on the same line as the other end. And then I can fold up my flap knowing that it is mostly the same on both sides. So there we go. And we have a nice, so this is going to have to be my top, so that at least my words won't be upside down even though they're going at an angle. Okay, so this envelope, you have these corners. So let's see, let me show you on here. So just like you have these notched corners here that you get with the envelope punch board, you can make your own by just taking some scissors and cutting out these notches. And you can also round them with the scissors. As you can see how those are a little rounded. You can do that with the scissors. It just takes a little practice. And I'm going to go ahead and score this so that I can see these lines a little better. And my paper did crack, which is not great, but this is a good quality paper and I didn't score, so that's what happens. So now I'm just going to cut out these little triangles, and I'm going to cut somewhat on the outside of the fold. So a little bit of the outside of the fold of the triangle. Very little, not a lot. So these are the little bits that we cut out. Small little triangles from each side, okay? So this will go like this, this will go like this, and this will go like this. I like that. And as you can see, you can kind of see where we did the fold in the middle, but if you're decorating your envelope, you're putting a label on there, that will be covered up. You can also burnish it out with bone folder or ruler. Then we can take our corner rounder. I'm going to use the big 1/2 inch rounding and do the corners. So doing all 4 corners. And the corner chomper is We Are Memory Keepers as well. So see what I'm saying here? This is taller than our side flaps. So I will put the glue on the side flaps. Then I don't have to worry about any overhang. So there. I could probably stand to put more glue on there, but there is that. I was saying that you could round the corners, which I probably should have did prior. These are pretty flush against the edge of the envelopes. Let's see, I can do it a little bit. I'm just going to do it up here to show you. So you just kind of round that sharp edge off. I didn't do it on the bottom part, but because I cut on slightly on the outside of the little triangles, I don't have an issue with it hanging over. So then that's what the final envelope flap would look like. Okay, so that is completely by hand except for the corner rounder. This one is I made the same way, but when I folded this one up, I folded it up a little higher So it comes out a little smaller than the original one that I did. Okay. Let's go with the big Martha Stewart punch board. So this actually slides out. This is the guide that you're going to use if you have this. We got a 12 by 12 piece of paper. We're going to make the A9 envelope using 12 by 12 paper. And it says to score at 3 7/8, or for score line A, and for score line B, 5.5. Now, if you remember with this board, you only measured one time. You didn't only had to measure once and just flip the paper and score. This one is saying you need to measure both sides. So the short side, the long side, however you want to look at it. As you flip it, side A gets a measurement and side B gets a measurement. And as far as I know, what you do is actually put this here. It locks itself into place. So it has a ridge right here. So you put it like this. See how it's locked in there? So I'm guessing, because it doesn't tell you, that I would put the paper like this up against here. Okay. And I don't have the score tool that came with this. I lost it a long time ago. It's probably tucked in somewhere. So I use the Fiskars score tool. Okay, so it said 3 7/8. So that's the mark right before the 4, because 8/8 would be 4. Okay, so let's do it carefully. This is weird. So the paper goes up against there like that. I guess it wouldn't seem so weird if I wasn't using the big paper. And I'm scoring carefully because this is paper, not cardstock. Okay, and then I'm gonna, I think I poked a hole in it a little bit. Then I gotta flip it around to the other side, and I think it said to score at 5.5. Yes. So I'm gonna put my corner in the corner here and line my paper up tight against the little triangle thingy, and I'm gonna go to 5.5 and score lightly because, again, this is paper. Then I'm gonna flip it around again and go back to 3 7/8. Boy, I hope that's right. Yep, 3 7/8. Got my paper lined up right. And turn one more time. Line it up, corner right there. Flush against the triangle, and 5.5. Okay, so we have a square on the inside, or a rectangle, and we have basically the same shape that we had when we did it by hand. I would probably, how would this go? It would have to go like this because the branding. So we got an envelope, and this is A9. I don't know that size, but okay. So I think we're done with that. And this is what it looks like. This would make a double envelope, actually, in a journal. So I'm not going to glue this one down. So let's go ahead and trim out these triangle sections, I guess you would call them sections, on all 4 sides. So this is really like a hybrid. Doing it this way is more of a hybrid of using the punch board and doing it completely by hand. Did I do all 4? Yeah. Okay, so goes like that. Just round the corners. So if I were to use this in a journal, it would fold like this in the center, and then these flaps would be envelopes on either end. That's cool. That's gonna work great. The only problem would be the branding here, but I could actually take another piece of paper and cover the inside where that's showing. So that's kind of cool. I really like that. So here I would probably go around and round those off like so, just a little bit, so they're not so pointy. So there's that one. So the last 2 scoreboards, I'm pretty sure that this one would be very much like the We Are Memory Keeper. So let's try this one real quick. I do have another scrap piece of paper right here, and let's trim it down to 5 by 5. Let's see what we can do. So we've got a 5 by 5. Let's try this one first. We're going to take the score tool off. And so it says card size would be 2 by 3.5. And we would align with 2. So this is very difficult for me to see, first off. But there's 2. So I'm going to take a pencil and mark the 2 so that I can see it. See, I did that before too, because you just can't really see it on this light thingy bob with the light shining right on it. Okay, so what am I aligning with the 2? And this one even shows you to cut those little triangles out too. But yeah, align with the 2. I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna align it with the 2 and hope that I'm doing this right. This is awkward because I'm left-handed, so bear with me. So then what do I do? Oh, I was supposed to do it on that side. So then I align. Okay. So maybe I was supposed to do it like, nope, I couldn't do it like that. I had to do it like this. So I aligned it with the 2. And I think I was supposed to do it like that. Oops. Oopsie. Let's see if I can salvage this. So I put it over here. How did I do that? I did it like this. That probably wasn't right. Because then I need to line this score line up with this. This is the guide score line. Okay, I get it. So if I line it up with that score line, there is a score line up there. I don't know if you can see it. Then what? Oh, it's got a little guide here. A little notch right there where you put the score tool in between those. And that's what helps you find the groove to score. Cool. So that's cool. And then we're going to turn it around. So this is the line we just made. There. We're going to line that up with the notch or the score guide. Make sure this is flush up against this ridge. Put the score tool in between these two notches and score. Okay, I like that. Works pretty good. See, once you figure out how to do it, it works. It's just that I was too lazy to figure out how to do it, I guess. Okay. Got that one lined up. So now we fold all our score lines. We have our triangles that this says that we need to trim out. So I'm going to trim those. And voila, we got another envelope. This will go like this, like that. Okay, so that one works pretty good. And it's like, I feel like they thought of everything. So it does have directions. I just didn't read them. It also has these different shapes that you can use to emboss your envelope. Which I have never actually tried to do. I don't know how to do it. So what would I do? Just put this over it and take the score, not the score tool, this thingy. What is this called? Stylus, and rub over it? Or would I take this? Probably take this. I wonder why it has a pointy end. Once I pick it up, it's over. It did emboss it a little bit. I probably should have flipped the paper over and did it the other way. That probably would have been better. But it worked. If I knew what I was doing, it would work better. So now we got an envelope that fits in our envelope. Okay, enough playing with that one. Then last but not least, we have the Martha Stewart version. It says, after cutting paper to specified size, line up edges of paper to the corresponding dash lines, matching the edges on all four sides. So you got dash lines here to match your paper edges too. This is the card sizes up here. This is the envelope sizes. So you actually only get 4 different envelope sizes. You get the 4-bar, an A2, an A6, and an A7. So I think I want to try the A2, which means I need 8.5 by 8.5 paper. So I'm just gonna go with some craft cardstock for this one. It's already 8.5 in one direction, so we're just gonna make it square. Okay, so we're doing the 8.5 by 8.5, which is A2. So I guess I go like this. This is easier once you figure it out. So the one without the arrow is the one that I'm matching up to. So where it says A2 without the arrow, I'm lining my paper up with that dashed line on all 4 sides. So line it up there, line it up here, kind of line it up down here. Voila. Then I score where it says A2. Okay. Right? Yes. Oop. So this is a little fiddly. Okay. So many different ways to do this. So I'm looking for the line that says A2. It says A2 and the arrow points to that line. Oop. See if we can drive this thing straight. Oop. It went off track. This is cardstock, so I don't have to worry about poking a hole so much. Then I'm looking for A2. Here is the line with the arrow. If you don't feel confident using it this way, you could probably use some washi tape to tape it down so that it doesn't move. But here's A2 going this way. This one is going this way. Oops, I drove that real crooked. Okay, let's go. There we go. All right. This is easier, but it's a little more fiddly. So let's go ahead and fold our scores. And it does tell you to cut out the triangles too in the directions. So let's cut out the triangles. There we have our envelope. I guess I could go ahead and round these a little bit. Okay, let's chomp those corners. Okie doke. So that's that. I'm gonna go ahead and close this one up too. It's a little off. See how they don't quite meet in the middle? But you can't tell that it's off any other way. At least I don't think so. So let's add the glue. Get rid of the bits. And that's it. Okay. So we used every single thing that I have to make envelopes. We used the Martha Stewart full size and the mini. We used the We Are Memory Keepers mini. We used the We Are Memory Keepers full size envelope punch board and the mini punch board. We also did one by hand. So these are all the envelopes that we made. This was a learning experience for me too, because I had never done a couple of these. So yeah, we made all these envelopes and used these tools. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that little gray bell so that you'll receive notification each time I upload a new video. Be sure to check the community tab and my stories for updates throughout the week. Also, check us out over at patreon.com/Scrapcraftastic for exclusive content and digital downloads. You can find me across social media at Scrapcraftastic. Visit my website and shop at Scrapcraftastic.com. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.